Welcome to another edition of In Between the Lines with D9and10sports.com. I'm Chris Rossetti. He's Andy Close. As you can tell, we're on a Zoom today to do this. Welcome in, Andy.
Welcome, Chris. Hey, we're back. We're back. Sports are back. It's a great day.
Yeah, sports are back, and it is a great day. Before we get started, want to make sure that we take care of our sponsors. In Between the Lines with D9 and 10 Sports, brought to you by the computer guru of Leaper. The computer guru of Leaper. Need computer help? Looking to buy a new computer or other tech gear? Want help setting up a personal or business network? Then call Terry Dryhoff, the computer guru in Leaper, Pennsylvania. You can stop in at the shop at 1204 Tylersburg Road in Leaper, or they can come to you. Call the computer guru today at 814-744-7580 to make an appointment, or visit the computer guru on the net at thecomputerguru.net. Also brought to you by the Rehab Center. Chiropractors caring for health with 6 locations, including Brookville, Clarion, and Cantanning. Call them today for an appointment at 724-478-1501. One number gets you into any one of their 6 offices, or visit them online at therehabcenters.com. That is centers, CENTRES, the old English way. Also being brought to you by All American Awards and Engraving, located at 511 Main Street in Chippenville. All American Awards and Engraving is your place for the highest quality awards, engraving, and embroidery since 2004. At All American Awards and Engraving, we will put almost anything on almost everything. Check us out online at www.allamericanhq.com or call us today at 1-877-402-9273. That's 877-402-9273. Again, special thanks to those great sponsors, Andy. Without them, we couldn't be bringing you some of the great things we're bringing you on D9and10sports.com.
Absolutely, and we're appreciative for all our sponsors. And again, we're appreciative. And Chris, I think we gotta start with just how refreshing it is to see sports back. You know, it's been since March, the middle of March,
169 days.
Which is crazy to think about. It's 5 months, but might as well have been 5 years.
It definitely felt like that, and it was good to write about sports yesterday. And then, you know, in just kind of in the 2020 way of things of doing things, then today there was supposed to be more, and then it rained. I don't know if there's anything more 2020 than having sports back after 169 days, and then we can't get them even 2 days in a row, thanks to Mother Nature.
Well, you know, that's something. You're right. Very 2020, but we'll deal with it. You know, we can deal with rainouts. I think that's something everyone can handle.
It's better. But you know, when I was putting up about the rainouts today, it occurred to me that I needed to make sure that I clarified in a headline that it was about weather and not about, say, COVID-19, the reason matches got postponed today. You know, in the past, you never really thought about that. But man, that's just kind of the times we're living in, and you know, it was good. It was good to see some sports going. It was golf yesterday. It was supposed to be golf again today. Tennis will go next week, and then the week after we'll get full blown into things on September the 11th. Cross country, volleyball, etc. We'll get to start. Actually, I guess it's September 10th. September. That's right. September 11th, we'll get football. September 14th, we'll start to get the rest of those sports then, is I think the way it works, right?
Right. And I'll tell you what, too, just to draw on the point of being back, didn't get a chance to get out to any of the golf courses, but did get a chance to hit up some practices this week. And you can feel the energy. You can feel like at first, I think it was a big sigh of relief. But you can feel the energy. You can feel the energy from the athletes. You can feel it from the coaches. And is there uncertainty still? Yes. Do any of us know for certain how this is going to go? No. I think this whole situation has taught us everything. It's that no one really knows for sure. But just in the interim, in the here and now, you know, just seeing these kids back on on practice fields. It's just it not only is energizing for us. I've seen a lot of our colleagues in the sports media talk about, to your point, how exciting it is just to write about live sports, and it's so true. I mean, you can feel that energy, and it's coming from all parties involved.
Now, all that being said, this hasn't been without some complications this week, not necessarily because of anybody contracting COVID or anything like that, but one of the IUs in District 9 kind of threw things for a curveball. IU 9, which is the northern half of District 9, decided they were going to play in their own sort of bubble. And, that threw some people for a loop, even though there'd been, let's say, rumors of it happening prior to this week. There were a lot of schools that were affected by this in the southern half of District 9 that hadn't really been told by the northern half of District 9. I know that we started hearing about it a little over a week ago, and yet it wasn't handled, I don't know, in the proper way from the people in the IU 9s. And I'm not sure where that blame lies. I'm going to guess it was probably from the superintendent's level, where they were like, hey, let's not say anything until things are starting to get more official. But there was definitely some complications that arose because of this, hasn't there been?
Yeah, I think it maybe caught some of the southern schools off guard. I think, the superintendents in the IU 9 were in communication with each other, and they kind of had an idea of what they wanted to do in creating this bubble. And listen, they're trying to make this as safe as possible. And, not only that, but they're trying to make sure that we get to have a full season. And in their mind, this is going to help do that. But again, when you're talking in terms of scheduling and maybe catching, schools, in the southern half of the AML or the KSAC or wherever off guard, it's going to complicate things. But we're going to start getting schedule releases here. Like schools will figure this out as they go. I think it's one of those things where
do you feel like working like with both District 9 and District 10 here, that District 10 is more organized right now?
I would say District 10 has a very good plan of attack. They put together a concrete date this week saying, hey, school districts, we need to know if you're opting in or not by Wednesday. And for the most part, all the schools did that. All the school districts did that. They came out and said, we're going to have a schedule release Monday morning. So yeah, I think in a way they've really gone about handling it the right way.
They were set
about who could handle a situation like this.
They were set up better to handle a situation like this, with their region setups and regional scheduling and so forth. It made life a little easier. The fact that things in District 10 work from the district level on down to the schools, as opposed to District 9, where it works from the schools on up to the district level. And you're seeing why I think places like the WPIL District 10 were in better position to attack new schedules and things like that than maybe District 9 were, where on Tuesday, all the athletic directors got together in an athletic director meeting and started trying to figure out how to do their schedules and so forth, instead of the district committee leading the way. I'm not going to be a surprise to anybody that knows me and knows my thoughts on how District 9 runs, that I think that the District 9 committee is kind of like the Articles of Confederation were. They kind of let their members rule them, whereas District 9 is set up more like how our federal government's supposed to be set up, where they tell their schools what's going to happen, and then that's generally what happens. And in situations like this, I think a situation where you have leadership at the top that's willing to say, hey, look, we know that we're going to have to redo our regions in District 10's case, is very important. I had one athletic director tell me, what's the point of even having conferences in District 9, because the football conference voted to go ahead with the football schedule the way they had it, and then the schools came back and said, nah, we're gonna do our own IU 9 bubble, and that creates some issues, obviously. Like, what's the purpose of having a conference if the conference has no power?
Yeah. Very, very good points raised there. I want to switch gears just for a second. getting back to the Monday morning region and schedules release in District 10. I don't know how big of a nerd some of you are out there, but I'm a big nerd. I'm the kind of guy that that gets excited about the NFL schedule release and turns it into an event. I kind of feel like this is kind of set up like that, where it's you get people talking, and you have a hard date and time when you're going to send this out, and it gets people talking, it gets people excited, and quite frankly, I can't wait to see it. I can't.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It creates some anticipation. You're going to see some new regions, and they're going to kind of do what the IU9 did. They're going to try to put schools that are similarly close to each other in the regions. But again, it's being done in a more organized way over there in District 10, and I think that's really a key thing. And kudos to them for being able to do that. I thought you were going to actually talk about Ryan Briggs, Professor Briggs, for a lot of you guys over there in Mercer County, put out his thoughts on a 4-team region today, where they would play each other in some cases twice. What's your thoughts on that, Andy, playing teams twice at this point in time? In football, we're talking. I mean, obviously in other sports, you already play people twice. Do you have any issues with football teams playing each other twice?
Not at all. I mean, if it means having a full schedule or close to a full schedule, I'm all for it. It'll be unique. It's something we haven't, because schools typically don't play each other twice unless they meet in the playoffs. But yeah, if it makes sense. And again, too, I encourage anyone who didn't check out Ryan Briggs's setup there to go check it out. It's really, really interesting. I know District 10 was kind of taking that under advisement as well. And listen, they're going to keep this as yes, it's going to be geographically focused, but they're going to keep this as competitive as possible. You're not going to have a 1A school playing a 6A school. That we're not talking anything like that. We're talking similar size schools playing each other. So yeah, and getting back to your point, is it playing twice? Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
I said that a couple of weeks ago, that you got to think outside the box during a pandemic at times. If you want to play, you've got to figure out ways to make it happen. One thing we haven't heard a whole heck of a lot about is the postseason. I know District 9 had a committee meeting the other night, and they didn't spend very much time. A couple of the members wanted to spend some time talking about postseason, but it didn't seem like the vast majority of them really cared to spend a whole lot of time talking about that. Wanted to talk about some other things that maybe weren't quite as important right now. And I get it. I get the fact that we don't know what's going to happen until we get into play and stuff, but you sort of have to go into the season having some sort of plan, don't you?
Yeah, I think you do, even though, I mean, listen, everyone wants a postseason. Everyone. Are we going to get there? I hope so. You or I or anyone else, again, can't sit there and say with certainty that we will have one. But, yes, they do need a plan. You do need a plan of when you get to I know, from the PIAA on down, they've talked about, and even at the District 10 level, they've talked about a truncated postseason, which I think makes sense given everything that's going on. But that needs to be laid out. That can't be one of those things. And listen, it's fluid. It's going to be subject to change. Yeah, sure. But it doesn't mean you have to have some sort of idea of how you're going to proceed with that. And maybe they do, and they've just, not really laid it out, but it doesn't seem like it.
I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. I know this is mainly a high school sports site and show, but I don't know if you caught the news today that the Big Ten was considering starting football in November as one of its plans. And can somebody explain to me, like, what the difference between starting football now and starting football in November would be?
I'll tell you what this reeks of to me, Chris, and I'm glad you brought this up. I know we're, like you said, a high school site, but what are we doing here? Kevin Warren, Big Ten, what are you doing? This is a failure of leadership. This is a failure to admit that, hey, we may have made a mistake. We may have jumped the gun with it.
And I guess where this ties into high school sports and why maybe I bring it up is Governor Wolf likes to keep mentioning the Big Ten's decision when he says about sports not playing until January. And then you see something like this from the Big Ten, and you're thinking, Gov, is that really who you want to follow?
Right. The bit. I mean, just a gigantic failure for the Big Ten. If you look, it's Pennsylvania in particular is one of those states that's just bizarre. You can play high school football. Pitt and Temple can play football. The Steelers and Eagles can play football. Penn State can't. It literally makes zero sense.
Yeah, it's way out there. It's like the outlier, and then the governor's using the outlier to justify his thought process on high school sports. It's really strange, and instead of looking at what the vast majority of people are doing, he'd rather go and look at the outlier and use it just because the outlier fits the narrative that he wants. And we're still at this situation where we're not going to be able to have fans. Somebody's going to have to really try to explain this one to me. You're going to have to explain to me, not so much in the indoor setting, but the outdoor setting, why in any football stadium we can't social distance, why the Carlisle Auto Show was allowed to have 20,000 people in it. And look, I'm not one of these guys that says that everything the governor's done is wrong or everything he's done is right. But I just feel like there's some lunkerheadness going on here. I might have just created a word, but I feel like we're saying that these kids can be in the school building together with masks. We're saying that they can be, even on school buses, social distancing, but people can't be in a football stadium. And again, I understand that would put a lot of pressure on administrations to make sure it happens. We saw in Utah last week where an athletic director shut down the game for a while because parents weren't, frankly, doing what they were supposed to do. And I get that that's a problem because I see it on Facebook all the time. Like it or hate it, there is currently an obligation to wear face masks in the return to school. And yet parents are still online complaining about that. Well, you can complain all you want, but sometimes if you want to have certain things happen, you've got to follow certain rules that they put in place. And frankly, I think that if you have to wear a face mask and social distance at a football game, but you get to watch the football game, that's a pretty fair trade-off in a time like this, isn't it?
It is. And again, not to get, and I don't want to turn this too political, so I'm going to keep this short, but yeah, like that's, in order to have a season, there are certain measures that have to be followed. In order to potentially have fans, there are certain measures that have to be followed. Let's just listen. Let's be safe.
Let's come together and compromise, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Maybe you're not a big mask wearer. Maybe you are a big mask wearer. Maybe you're not big on letting people come to games. Maybe you really want that to happen. But maybe we can meet in the middle somewhere. And if that means compromising, and as somebody that maybe isn't as big of a person on letting people in, I'm willing to let people in if they're social distancing and wearing masks. And as the guy that doesn't like wearing masks or doesn't think it means anything, maybe I'm willing to do that, meet the other side somewhere in the middle so that we can actually have these kids actually playing in front of people too.
Yeah, I like that. But let's compromise. Let's come together. Quite frankly, there hasn't been a whole lot of that. You see shouting matches on Twitter and people arguing back and forth, mask, anti-mask, what have you. Let's compromise. This is kind of our pitch. Let's compromise. Let's do what's best. Let's actually work together so that we can have not just high school sports, but it would, everything, but everything COVID related. Let's work together. Let's not tear each other apart here.
Yeah, I think that's not asking that much at the end of the day, actually. So, hey, Andy, another great edition here of In Between the Lines, brought to you again by the computer guru of Leaper. Check them out online at thecomputerguru.net or give them a call at 814-744-7580. Also by the Rehab Center with 6 locations, including in Brookville, Clarion, and Katanning. Easily to get to for a lot of District 9 and some of District 10. Give them a call today at 724-478-1501. That number will get you into any one of their 6 locations. You can also check them out online at therehabcenters.com. That's centers, R-E-S, the old English way. Also being brought to you by All American Awards and Engraving, located at 511 Main Street in Shippensville. All-American Awards and Engraving can be found on the internet at allamericanhq.com, or give them a call at 877-402-9273. And don't forget that we can be found at www.d9and10sports.com, also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook with the D9 and 10 Sports. Basically, it's at D9 and 10 Sports on Instagram and on Twitter, and on Facebook, it's just facebook.com/D9 and 10 Sports. Hey, until next week, Andy, thanks for joining me on another edition of In Between the Lines.